NMH at 1 informs on the news making waves in Namibia, Africa and the rest of the world during the lunch hour.
Coming up in this broadcast, protesters demand nationalisation of natural resources and banks. Namidia declares $150 million a dividend to government. Special Olympics Namibia hosts the athletes' health screening. At least 11 people killed in a fire at the Ugandan school for blind.
These stories, economic news, sports updates and international headlines coming your way, read to you by Aina Raisa Kweyo and Ashwin Berry. Activists Michael Amshelelo and Dimbulukeni Nauyoma are leading a group of protesters who are demanding the nationalization of the country's natural resources and its banks. The protesters are heading to Parliament, the Bank of Namibia, the Mines Ministry and Namibia Stock Exchange to hand over petitions.
In our visual news segment, we bring you news from the capital city, the Erongo region and central northern Namibia. Remember to engage with these stories on social media as we will be back shortly.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show.
Varsity and the youth generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Heading into the visual news, Namibia Desert Diamonds yesterday declared $150 million dividend to the government for the financial year 2021-2022.
We have improved our margin towards 7%, about the 100% SSB during the period. I think at some point when we started off as India, we were really targeting to beat that, which is the 6% above SSB, and we really surpassed it. And I think that deserves a round of applause. Also good news is that our volume in terms of carats has really outperformed and increased to about 53.8% compared to the previous year. You'll see a slide later that shows the movement. And that's really also attributed to a huge demand post-COVID when a lot of our trading activities were in a hiatus. Our sales revenue as well, following the volumes of carats, has increased with 78.7%.
Special Olympics Namibia recently held an athletes' health screening, sibling and family engagement workshop at Walfish Bay. Special Olympics Namibia National Executive Director Emilia Nzuzi explained that athletes' health screening is an initiative run by the Special Olympics which offers athletes access to free health screening and health information during local and international competitions. Healthcare volunteers help those with intellectual disability to receive adequate health care.
What we do as a program is that we provide, just like our missions and vision say that we provide year-round sports in our countries, and it's Special Olympics and international organization. Through the year-round sport activity is for adults and children with intellectual disabilities. Special Olympic doesn't discriminate. That's why we don't call them children, we call them athletes. Because athletes can be a child or can also be an adult. And that is what we do. In Special Olympic, we're having a different program. However, we use sport as a vehicle to change. We have the Hair Family Forum, where we educate families. We give opportunity to families having access to the medical profession, that they can able to answer their questions and so on. And also having peer-to-peer exchange with other parents and also with other athletes during the Health Family Forum. Currently today we are having the health screening, which is one of our big international program, where the now athletes have access to medical doctors, where they will be screened. We Special Olympics have different discipline of screening. They have hearing, open eyes, which is regarding with the eyes to check if the eyes is fine. Then we're having also the hearing. But however, in Namibia, we are only accredited to run third discipline. The third discipline is now the MedFist, which is general checkup from the doctors, where they examine each athlete. Then we're having also we call it special smile, which is a dentist. We have doctors that dentists that now doing the examination for our athlete. Then we also have health promotion. Health promotion, we're having a clinical director that run health promotion, where they tell us the quantity of food, the balanced diet, the food that we need to eat, and all those kinds of things. Is when now the family can be able to ask questions and also able to be educated that you don't need any expensive food. You just need a balanced diet, a healthy balanced diet.
Omake Charity Organization chairperson Eddie Khobetsi talks about the Golden Oldies Ball they hosted for fundraising purposes and to create some sort of entertainment for the 30 to 50 years of age Oshuarongo residents. Have a look.
Yeah, we hosted a Omake Golden Oldies event. It was actually on the backdrop of popular demand. We had an Omake cheese and wine earlier this year, and people that are between the ages of 30 to 50 saw that there is no entertainment in Oshuarongo, and it was based on that request, and also for the mere fact that as an organization we wanted to raise funds to really help the marginalized communities in and around Oshuarongo, but not entirely restricted to Oshuarongo. It all depends from resources at hand, and we reach out to everyone across the country.
Okay. Would you say that the Golden Oldies event was a success?
Yes.
And why would you say?
Yeah, it was a success. We are still busy trying to just finalize our financial report to see as to what have we put in and how much did we really gain from that, so that we can see as to whether we have reached our goal that we wanted to do in terms of raising funds to support our various initiatives that we have throughout the year.
Okay, what is your goal that you have?
Our ultimate goal as an organization is to set up a stay-in welfare and disability center. We feel that it's all good and well. We can give kids school shoes, blankets, food hampers for the elderly and so on, but it does not really address the root problem of poverty. So it's against that background that we have said that we want to set up a stay-in welfare and disability center that obviously, depending as to what is the resources at hand, take up at least 2 or 3 or 5 kids, take them through school, take them through university. From there, they can become either entrepreneurs or they can get a decent job. That will also then mean that the poverty will end with our child's generation.
Okay. Seeing that the event already took place, is there anything that you would change with the coming events that you guys have, if you guys have more fundraising events coming up this year?
Yes, there is always room for improvement. Obviously, marketing plays a very important role.
Stay with NMH at 1 for the newspaper review segment right after the short commercial break.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Heading into the newspaper review, the country can't only cater for veterans. The Namibian Sun quotes Defense Minister Frans Kapofi on its front page. Defense and Veteran Affairs Minister Frans Kapofi says government is for all citizens, not just war veterans, whom he told the state has run out of money to fund their business projects. His stance is set to infuriate the veterans who already had a major fallout with the minister over money they believe they are entitled for their contribution towards Namibia's liberation struggle. Hundreds of aggrieved veterans handed over a petition on a delayed cash payment earmarked for their projects to Ombudsman Basilius Dyakuya last Friday. President Hage Geingob yesterday wished Zambia a happy 58th independence, adding that Namibia will forever be indebted to Zambia. The head of state spoke during the country's official independence celebrations in Lusaka and highlighted that it was Zambia that opened its doors for the opening of the United Nations Institute for Namibia, of which Geingob was the director. This was an institute that opened the doors to so many peerless administrators who have formed the core of our governance architecture over 3 decades, he said. He added that Zambia also became home to close to 5,000 Namibians at the SWAPO-initiated Nyango Health and Education Center outside Lusaka.
Now, in our next story, according to Africa's daily newspaper Republican's lead page, people are currently being encouraged on social media to give their input on the future of the Allied Festi in Windhoek. The Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, which is responsible for the building, is conducting a survey through its Directorate of Art, National Heritage and Cultural Programs. On page 2 of the paper, after questions about why everything at SWAPO is not yet in place in the run-up to the next month's election, the Secretary General got members in trouble and left the meeting unceremoniously.
Now, the Agomana Zeitung reports that Finance Minister Ipumbu Shimi finds himself between a rock and a hard place, and his revised budget, set to be delivered this afternoon, will likely once again be characterized by cuts to development projects to pay for running expenses. Since the reintroduction of the half-yearly budget review in 2017-2018, the development budget has been cut by almost 3.59 billion Namibian dollars in total, mainly in favor of operational spending. The paper's page 2 reports that a former NIMT employee, Ernst Joseph Lichtenstrasser, who is accused of the double murder of 2 NIMT directors, Eckhard Müller and his deputy Heimo Helweg, reportedly confessed to the crime after investigators are said to have threatened to arrest his wife. Stay with us as we continue with the newspaper review after this break.
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact agm@synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
Let's continue with our newspaper review. A Zambian national says he was shot by someone wearing a Namibian police uniform while trying to sell fish on the Namibian side of the Zambezi River. His story is narrated on page 1 of the Namibian newspaper, which in a separate story also reports that National Fishing Corporation of Namibia has rejected a proposal by businessman Adrian Lowe to compel the government to hand his company free guaranteed fishing quotas for the next 12 years, estimated to be worth 4 billion Namibian dollars. On page 3 of the paper, it reports that Namibia Broadcasting Corporation journalist Tuliki Abraham is seeking to be elected to the SWAPO Central Committee at next month's ruling party's Congress. Speaking to the Namibian newspaper, Abraham insists that she does not have a contract with NBC and that she is a freelance journalist. However, NBC spokesperson Umbi Karuyahe Upi says Abraham has a freelance contract with the national broadcaster. Abraham says that she resigned from NBC in 2003 when she moved to Ludretz with her family.
Now an update from the Fishrot corruption trial highlights that one of the alleged key figures in the Fishrot saga, James Hatukilipi, raked in more than 58.2 million Namibian dollars from the scheme. Prosecutor General Martha Imalwa has claimed of that known share, more than 54 million Namibian dollars was paid outside Namibia into an account of Tundavala Investment Limited, a company where Hatukilipi is the sole director. In another story, the New Era reports that while leading agencies such as the IMF have advised Namibia to continue its fiscal consolidation strategy to preserve its fragile debt sustainability, local economic analysts are concerned about the finance minister's fiscal space, which is facing escalating pressure from rising inflation and interest rates. The paper's page 3 reports on the plea of former members of the liberation struggle who said there is no patience left in them any longer and they want the long-awaited cash payment earmarked for individual veterans projects to be settled with immediate effect, saying they are getting old and cannot wait.
Now, in our next story, Namibia Desert Diamonds declared $150 Namibian dividend to the government for the financial year 2021-2022 compared to the $40 million Namibian dollars in the previous financial year. Profit after tax amounted to $144.7 million Namibian dollars compared to the $13.3 million Namibian dollars recorded in the financial year 2020-2021. Dividend declared is not restricted to the profit made in the current financial year. Namidia purchase volumes totaled 222,978 carats on an increase of 53.8% compared to its previous year. Sales revenue increased by 78.7% to $128 million. The institution is in a sound financial position with cash reserves amounting to $395 million Namibian dollars.
After the break, we discuss the cost of registering a business with the Business and Intellectual Property Authority in Namibia as Aina takes you through the economic news.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact b7@synergy.com.na.
In our economic news this afternoon, the cost of registering a business with the Business and Intellectual Property Authority is not exorbitant but may occur when private parties or consultants are appointed. Minister of Industrialization and Trade Lucia Ipumbu said this in a response to a question posed in Parliament with regards to the cost of registering a business in Namibia and the unnecessary paperwork involved that could instead be streamlined or done online. She said BIPA is continuously working to improve its internal process and procedures to facilitate administration of business registration and make doing business easier. She said that all forms that are completed by clients are done so for record-keeping purposes and contain important information that is pertinent for BIPA to complete the registration registration of a business. The cost of registering is 225 Namibian dollars. The application fee for the registration of companies vary depending on the share capital and the number of directors and pro-related annual duties. The cost for such a company on average will not exceed 700 Namibian dollars. She said that it is also important to note that the cost of registering by third parties or consultants is not regulated by BIPA and therefore cannot be determined to be a cost by BIPA. In our next story, Africa must build oil and gas pipelines, liquefied natural gas terminals, distribution hubs, and gas-fired power plants over the next 20 years to unlock its energy market for over 600 million people, official, executive, and analysts say. But the rapid shift with the rest of the world towards renewable energy means that countries in the region that boast vast untapped hydrocarbon reserves and depend on exporting those resources for revenue and attracting investment funds will face increasing challenges. Some projects are underway and more are needed, according to 6 officials, investors, experts, but challenges including financing, security, and coordination are vast. Africa is home to 60% of the best solar resources globally, yet has only 1% of installed solar capacity. Energy demand is expected to grow rapidly over the next 2 decades, 30% higher than today, compared with a 10% increase globally, consultancy McKinsey said in a report in June. Now we take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar saw a rise in value when weighed against the Chinese yuan, while $1 will now cost you 18 Namibian dollars and 42 cents. No changes are seen on the NSX, with prices remaining consistent. Namibia Breweries Ltd stock now trade for 46 Namibian dollars on the NSX after a 2.1% decrease in price. Copper, Brent crude oil observed a fall in price, while other commodities prices have climbed. Uganda police says that at least 11 people, among them students, were killed after a dormitory caught fire at a local school. Stay with NMH at 1 as we bring you these stories in our African continent news stories.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and 1up2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Here are the news from our African continent. Ugandan police says that at least 11 people, among them students, were killed and 6 others are in a critical condition after a dormitory caught fire at a school for visually impaired children in Mukono, east of the capital, Kampala. The injured are being treated at Herona Hospital, police said. Investigations have started into the cause of the fire at the Salam School of the Blind, which is said said to have broken out in the small hours of Tuesday in the morning. School fires are common in Uganda, sometimes started from children lighting candles in their dormitories after lights out. Managing the fire is in many cases hampered by overcrowding in the school's children's sleeping area. Now we move over to our next story. Western embassies in Nigeria's capital Abuja yesterday advised their citizens in the country to limit their movement due to what they called a higher threat of a terror attack, despite appeals for calm from the authorities. It was unclear if the assessment from the US, UK and other countries was based on a new threat or because of incidents that had already occurred. Insurgents linked to the Islamic State group have claimed several attacks in states surrounding the Federal Capital Territory in the past 6 months, putting many on edge in the city of 6 million. On Sunday, the United States Embassy in Nigeria issued an advisory warning its citizens of an elevated risk of terror attacks in Nigeria, specifically in Abuja, without giving further details. Avoid all non-essential travel or movement, the statement said, adding that it was reducing services until further notice. Britain, Canada and Australia issued similar warnings over the weekend, recommending citizens in Nigeria and in Abuja in particular to avoid public spaces where crowds gather. The statement also reminded that schools have been targets for Nigerian insurgents in the past. In response, Nigeria's domestic security agency, known as the Department for State Services, advised that necessary precautions are being taken by all. The SA Post Office has contributed to more than 3 billion rand loss of the fiscus resulting from the fraudulent issues of vehicle license disc. Road Traffic Movement Corporation CEO Advocate Makosini Msibi said on Monday it had investigated the origin of the issuance of fraudulent license disc, which has been compounded by the closure of certain post office branches. Msibi said these closures were not reported on time and criminals had seized the vehicle's licensing equipment that was used by the post office and are using it to fraudulently issue vehicle license disc. He said 820 cases are currently being investigated related to fraudulent issues of vehicle license disc, driver's license, learner's driving licenses, roadworthy certificates, and fee dumping. He confirmed Gauteng is the first priority in regard to fraudulent issues of vehicle license disc to the tune of 1.2 billion rand, with 800 million rand lost in Mpumalanga and 600 million rand in the Free State. Rishi Sunak will today be installed as Britain's third Prime Minister this year, replacing Liz Truss, who stepped down just after 7 weeks in this position. You're still with NMH at 1. Stick around for that story and more with Ashwin Berry.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact Evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
Now, is the political relay in the Conservative Party in England finally over? It seems a new Prime Minister will be today installed. Rishi Sunak will be installed as Britain's third Prime Minister this year, replacing Liz Truss after just 7 weeks and inheriting a daunting array of problems. Sunak became the ruling Conservatives' new leader on Monday after rival contender Penny Mordaunt failed to secure enough nominations from Tory MPs and Boris Johnson dramatically aborted a comeback bid. A 42-year-old Hindu will be Britain's first Prime Minister of colour and the youngest in more than 2 centuries. Sunak will take power in a morning audience with King Charles III, who is anointing his first Prime Minister since ascending the throne just 2 days after his late mother Queen Elizabeth II appointed Truss. Truss leaves office as the shortest-serving premier in history after a tumultuous tax-slashing budget sparked economic and political turmoil. The 47-year-old announced her resignation last Thursday, admitting she could not deliver her mandate from Conservative members who had chosen her over Sunak in the summer. Now, a Russian presenter has had to make an apology. Russian TV presenter apologized on Monday for calling Ukrainian children to be drowned as Russia's State Investigative Committee said it was probing his remarks. In a show last week on state-controlled broadcaster RT, presenter Anton Krasovsky said Ukrainian children who saw Russians as occupiers under the Soviet Union should have been thrown straight into a river with a strong current and drowned. Ukraine said on Sunday that RT was an inciter of genocide and should be banned worldwide. Margarita Simonyan, the channel's editor-in-chief, said she had suspended Krasovsky because of his disgusting comments. State television, heavily controlled by the Kremlin, has been a vocal cheerleader of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, often calling on President Vladimir Putin to take an even more aggressive approach to the war. But Krasovsky's comments appeared to have crossed a line for authorities. Stay with us as we head into local sports shortly.
Region. For news-related or advertising queries, contact irongotalk@synergy.com.na. Irongo Talk, our community, your news.
We start out our local sports in the world of boxing. International boxers that will partake in this weekend's Together as One Part 8 Boxing Bonanza are all expected to arrive in Windhoek tomorrow. The organizer, Nestor Tobias, further said that preparations for the Bonanza have been going well. Namibian international Peter Shalulile is out with an injury with no clarity from his club Mamelodi Sundowns of what caused the injury or how long he will be out of action. And this year's South African Top 8 Cup final will feature 2 Namibian internationals after Dion Hoto's Orlando Pirates and Rian Hanamub's Amazulu emerged victorious from the semi-finals over the weekend. Let's head straight into the international sports. We start off with English Premier League log leaders Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus has warned his Arsenal teammates they must wake up following the Premier League leaders' 1-1 draw at Southampton. Granit Xhaka's early goal gave the Gunners the lead at St. Mary's, only for Mikel Arteta's men to drop points for just the second time this season as the Saints made the Gunners pay for a poor display after half-time. And it was Vodacom United Rugby Championship weekend where the non-events, for want of a better expression, became the major talking point. But Leinster used the 6th round to further stamp their authority on the race for prime position on the log. Stay with us as we head into the highlights from this afternoon's broadcast.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for watching our show this afternoon. If you are just joining us, here are our highlights. At least 11 people, among them students, were killed after a dormitory caught fire at a school for visually impaired children in Mukono, east of Uganda's capital, Kampala. Rishi Sunak will today be installed as Britain's third Prime Minister this year, replacing Liz Truss after just 7 weeks. International boxers that will partake in these weekends together as one pot 8 boxing bonanza are all expected to arrive in Windhoek tomorrow.
Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports and international headlines. That's it from us in studio, but don't go anywhere because up next is Regional Review.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Regional Review. I'm Kenya Kamboe, the Namibia Media Holdings correspondent in the Northeastern regions. On today's show, we'll be giving you highlights of events that unfolded in the Northeastern regions over the past month. Meanwhile, in history today is World Pasta Day, so check out the next video. Our first story under review is the water situation that was experienced in Rondo over the past month. We spoke to APP Secretary General Vincent Kainetu, who at the time gave us an overview of what really transpired, as he was one of the affected residents, and this is what he had to say.
You can see we are at the river now. We did not come here for pleasure, but we came here to come and fetch water for consumption and also to clean ourselves and stuff. But just to come back to the question, the situation is really getting out of hand now. The whole of Sauyemwa, Kasote, Satoto, and all other areas of Rundu, is affected by these shortages of water. So places like Sauyema, Kasote, and Satoto that I just mentioned, it's now about 4 to 5 weeks, that people don't have water. And we also had here and then Dama and all other locations also, including central town. Here and there, sometimes they get some drop of water. But just to come back to the question, the situation has affected all of us in town. And it's so bad that some people are very old. You have elderly people in town who are not able to pay even for transport to go and fetch water at the river here or anywhere else. So the town council, from what we have learned, at least between Thursday and Friday, is that they have shifted the blame to Nam Water. Apparently, it's a case of Nam Water, and nobody is coming forth from Nam Water side to tell us that what is really happening. Everybody is just playing hide and seek kind of a game.
Our second story under review is that of Kavango East Governor Honorable Bonifacius Wakudumo, who, during the graduation ceremony of the Rondo Vocational Training Center, called upon graduates to plow back into their communities. And this is what he had to say.
You are trained to go and make money, but I can tell you, money is not everything in life. You will work, you will make millions and billions of money in a very short period of time. You are gone. Money is there. You leave it. People will fight for it. I want this 4x4. I want that farm. Barakata, Warakata, Maudito. So, my encouragement to you, it's really, you have to be ambassador of change in our community. And I'm challenging you, go out and see what the tradespeople, the bricklayers, the electricians are doing. It is substandard. We compromise on our life, the life of our children and our grandchildren, because a building is a fixed asset which needs to last for the next 100 years. If this tsunami, and God forbid, if the tsunami by whatever reasons happen to come here in the room, I can tell you, after 2 days, maybe only 5% of the physical infrastructure in terms of building will make it. Why? Because the foundation upon the structure is built. The superstructure component of the building upon the roofing rests doesn't meet the necessary required standard. Mufupi, vana wetu kunakuwa tamati. Vana wetu kunakuwana na michinjapo dawo.
Our third story is that of the Lioness Secondary School in the Kavango East region. So basically what happened was that for many years, the Namibian Sun as well as other media outlets have been reporting about the state of the sorry state of the school, whereby classroom roofs were blown off, the ceilings were falling apart. If you were to go to the hostel block, it was an awful smell because of the sewage system. The rooms were not in a good state. Teachers' houses was something you wouldn't even want to see because it was so in a very terrible state. However, government intervened into the matter, whereby they seek funding from the African Development Bank, who availed a quite substantial amount of money, of which 102 million was used to renovate the school. So what happened was, during this month, the school was completed, and then it was officially opened to government, and this is how the school looks like now.
Our principal, our principal. really
Tate.
feeling fulfilled that I'm now officially opening this both renovated and newly constructed buildings at Lingshashipapo for us to really offer transformed quality education in the school.
Education, Arts and Culture Minister Anna Gibodoka says a lot needs to be done in order for quality education to be achieved in Namibia. She was making the remarks during the official handover of infrastructure of the Lioness, which was renovated to a cost of 102 million in Kavango East region. This is what she said.
Because 50% of our children who are supposed to go into pre-primary, up to now, they don't go there because of lack of classrooms. And for your information, ladies and gentlemen, we know we have got many teachers who are trained for pre-primary and lower primary. They are still on the ground unemployed. But if we say we build more classrooms, we will kill two birds with one stone. You build more classrooms, you have all the learners at pre-primary in schools, you have all those teachers employed. That's the dream that we have, and it's a challenge to do that. And we have to do it, otherwise those challenges for continue. We also need to build more hostels, where it is indicated by the population of learners entering semi-secondary schools, like at these schools, to ensure a conducive learning environment. And in addition, we also need to think about and build combined boarding schools to address the issue of uneconomical schools, where quality teaching and learning is negatively impacted. The schools that we call uneconomical schools are those very, very small schools. And you have got many of them, especially in this region. You find that a school with 20 learners but 5 teachers. Of course, those teachers, as a result of those teachers not meeting the teacher-learner ratio, requirements, we are spending more money, which we were not supposed to, in wage bills, which we were not supposed to do. But if we say, let's identify key spots in Kavango West, and say, here if we put a boarding school, combined from pre-primary to maybe grade 12 or pre-primary to grade 9, we will be able to say, let's bring all these learners together, all teachers together, and we equip those schools with all the equipment that we need, laboratories, workshops, everything. Their quality education will take place. Now in this small school, sometimes you find a teacher teaching grade 1, 2, 3, which we call multi-grade teaching. That way, quality of education is already affected. That's why we are saying a lot needs to happen for quality of education to take place in this country, and we are working hard around the clock. I'm listing this one because I'm going to come to another point. We also need to build and equip libraries, science and computer labs. And this is one issue in this school. To live up to our reform, at least now we've got a computer lab constructed. But we need more across the country to reform the curriculum to meet the objective of the reformed curriculum, which is to instill critical thinking, innovation, and knowledge application in our learners. We cannot teach children practical subjects without actually doing practical. Mind you, they also need to do practical for examinations. To build up and equip Free vocational workshops to ensure active practical learning also for our learners taking these subjects. Ladies and gentlemen, why am I elaborating on all those needs? Do I say government alone should do it? I am saying this dream cannot be realized if infrastructure development is left in the hands of the government alone.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Pasco is one of the young entrepreneurs in the Kavango region. You've been here for like 6 years. Tell us some of the business or job opportunities that exist in the Kavango regions, looking at the strategic location of the regions and the resources in abundance here. What do you think are some of the opportunities that the young people from this region can look into to make a living?
Thank you, Mr. Kenya. Okay, I'll start off with my how long that I've been here. I think it's 6 years now, and looking at the feasibility of the businesses that maybe the young ones that might look at. We have like we abandon the area of the river that I will speak of, the fish ponds. We don't have anybody who is mostly venturing in that. Which might be one of the vital business that can still bring more funds to the young ones, and they can still utilize for some other things and educating others on also how to deal with the fishes and all that. And also one can look at the pig farming. We still don't have somebody who is dealing with pig farming in the town. And then we move to also some angles of agri-technology. You know, everybody is mostly focusing on the traditional way on how to deal with agriculture. But then there is no one who is coming in with new inventions or new innovation on how we have actually to improve from one point to another, to improve our agriculture farming system. It's not really looked at, except for the maybe bigger companies or bigger organizations. But mostly the one that we have, our kids can, or our young ones can graduate at VTC, but then after all, they still can't able to bring up new ideas on how to improve the agriculture system. And then we might look at textile, where one of my industry where I'm based in now, of cloth fabrication and all that. But then if we look at in Rondo, we only have one shop that sells fabrics. Most of us now we order from vendor, so we don't have anybody who is coming in and say, okay, I'm seeing this opportunity at least also to challenge the Chinese businesses, or to import, even mostly if we can import from Tanzania where they have the qualities attires. But we are mostly just taking from the China because that's the only closest point that we have. But it's an opportunity one can look at and say, no, let me try to invest in a bit. Because if you invest in, and we have a lot of people that are doing clothing, if you go to the open market, if you go to Kehemo, if you go to Sauyema, all those areas they have designers. But where do they get their material? Only from the Chinese fabric or from Venduk. But then I might need, as a client now, I will speak as a client, I might need some product that need to be manufactured at that moment, and that we don't have somebody to supply that types of desired material. So either we have to tell the customer, no, I'm sorry, we don't have it, or you can maybe opt for Chinese only. Then they might not even also of their desired type of material.
Okay, now how do you feel like as a young person when